Hey there, it's Travis Mortz again. Another great morning down in the dark room today. I just recently shot a roll of Fomapan, which, for those of you who have been watching, you know that I love. And because of it, I thought, well, if I'm going to be developing this Fomapan, I might as well bring you guys along for the ride. So today we're going to be talking about how to develop black and white film, and more importantly, how to do it using rodinol developer, because that adds a little difference in the process. And for those of you guys out there who are not using rodinol, maybe this will give you some insight on why I like it so much. So anyways, we're going to go through what we need to develop film. The whole process is going to be one of my longer videos, so for those of you guys out there that are interested, buckle up. It's going to be a good one. So I'd like to get started talking about what kind of supplies we're going to need to develop film. Most people think that it's a huge big deal of, it's going to be very expensive to get started, and the fact of the matter is it's not expensive to get started. So the first thing you need is a developing tank. This is a great excuse to get started. You go buy a developing tank, and now you got no reasons not to be developing film at home, because this is all you need, pretty much, and then everything else is can be improvised or whatnot. So developing tank is the first thing that we're going to need. This is a stainless steel developing tank, which is what I started on, and I used these tanks for about 8 or 9 years up until this point. So metal tanks are great. I also have I've now started using the Jobo system, so this is the tank I use now, just a little newer, improved version. We're going to go over that. And next thing we're going to need is, I like having a 1,000 milliliter graduate. That pretty much covers my bases on any size tank I'm ever going to use. It's not going to be more than 1,000 milliliters. And I like working in milliliters because it's a whole lot easier than working with ounces, which is a little bit harder to split the difference on. 20.5 ounces is a whole lot harder than 550 milliliters is. So 1,000 milliliter graduate. And then because we're using rodinol is it's a really high concentrated developer. So because of that, the dilution on it is really high as well. So I develop at a 1 to 25 dilution, and that means we're going to need to have a smaller graduate to measure out our milliliters more accurately. Is really the only difference with using rodinol is just having a smaller graduate. We got our developer, our rodinol, great tool. That's a wonderful developer. We've got scissors for 35 millimeter film, as well as a can opener for 35 millimeter film. I'm gonna get into that. This is my Perma wash, and what Perma wash does, we'll talk later. And this is my fixer, and then we also need a changing box. So this is so I used to roll my film in. It's obviously it's a dark location to put your film inside the canister, and once your film's inside that canister, you are golden. So we're gonna put this down here. Oh, and last but certainly not least, we need a thermometer. This is the thermometer I use. It's great. I like using a mercury thermometer because the stainless steel dial thermometers need calibration, and how do you calibrate a stainless steel thermometer? By using a mercury one. So might as well just skip the process. And then I've got a kitchen timer here, always useful for those times that you have to do like 6.5 minutes or whatnot. Your iPhone's timer is not going to do halves. We got our reels, our plastic reels for the Jobo. And we've got some stainless steel reels for the stainless steel tank. I got my bottle of fixer here. And when it comes to supplies, the reason that I put this in here is because one of the supplies you're going to need is bottles to store your chemicals. I usually would recommend getting a gallon bottle because that's what all the mixtures are for. I split up my gallon into smaller bottles for traveling, so that's why it's in a smaller bottle. It just has stayed that way. We need some film clips. Where are they? guess I wasn't as prepared as I thought. So we got our film hanging clips. As you can see, I just had it hanging up over there. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch the view so you guys can just see my hands, and we're going to go into how to roll your film onto the reels, because for me, if I was learning from scratch, that would be the most daunting part for me, is how the hell do I get my film in that container? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So what we're going to do is we're gonna do a little close-up on that. Alrighty, so here we have 3 different film reels. I'm going to just kind of go through all the basics, so then this video will apply to anybody. So here we have a standard plastic film reel. See the ball bearings here? That's what helped guide the film onto the reel. Here we have a Jobo plastic reel, which as you can see is very similar, but this one does not have any ball bearings. This one is manually fed with your fingers. And here we have the ever so vintage metal reel. This is, personally, I think this is the most difficult way to roll 35 millimeter. I would advise against it, but we're going to give it a shot anyways. So we're going to get started. I'm going to start with this reel because this is the most common reel that most of you guys will probably be using if you're using a Patterson tank, which I recommend getting a Patterson tank. So here we are. Excuse my camera movement. Here we are, we've got, let's roll this nasty roll of film up. Okay, there's a nasty roll of Kodak 800 that I'm not ever going to shoot. So, there we go. This is what we would be doing in the dark room, or in the dark bag rather, but I'm going to show you guys. So, we want to start with our bottle opener. It's best to get the kind that has like a closed thing like this because that hooks onto the canister. So, all in the dark we'd be doing this. Just kind of go around and fish it off of there. Cool. So we got the bottom off. What I like to do is I like to keep the film together in my hand like this. So here we are. And you want to grab it with your fingers. And when you cut, you want to cut and make sure you don't cut on sprocket holes. Now I'm doing this, obviously, I would be doing it with my eyes closed. So we want to feel, oh no, we got a snag here. So we're going to cut again. We got no snags. Great. And this is really important for using these plastic reels because if you don't have a smooth cut, it could really affect the ball bearings. So what I typically do is when I put my reel inside my dark bag, I put it in a way that I could find these gates. For those of you who have never done this, I suggest you study this reel before you go into the dark so that you know exactly what it looks and feels like. So anyways, I find these gates like this in the dark. I take my left hand, because I'm right-handed, I take my left hand and I put the reel between these 2 fingers right here, you see. And now my index finger is right underneath my gate and my thumb is right here. So, start with my film. And all I have to do is hand my film to my other hand. All I got to do is that, and I can pull it through the gates, just like that. You want to pull it past the ball bearing. And now the easy part comes where we put our thumbs over the gates and ratchet. Now, I'm going to let it pop off. Okay, so it's popped off and we're in the dark and we're panicking. All you've got to do when this happens is pull your film out and curl it until it gets back underneath. There we go. Problem solved. We can continue ratcheting because that's going to happen a few times, you see. This film's rather curly, so got to keep it going. I like to just do one side so I can keep it under control. Cool, we're at the end. Here we get our scissors and cut it. Beautiful. Finish ratcheting. Our film is on the plastic reel. Now, like I said, this is probably the easiest one to do. We're going to break it apart, get our film off. Cool. Now, in the unlikely situation that this happens to you in the dark bag, it is okay. What I suggest is not trying to finish it like this. Just make sure you can get your stuff back in order and keep calm. So, Now we're going to do the Jobo reel because that's what I use, and a lot of guys out there don't know how awesome these are. So here we've got our Jobo reel. Once again, to feel our gate. We know it. Same technique. Pull it through just like so. And with these Jobo reels, see this opening here allows us to just grab it with our fingers. And because of this, there's no moving parts to pop the film off of the track. You see how this film's not coming off at all. Bada bing, bada boom. And then sometimes, let's see where the beginning of the film is. Here we are. Sometimes the beginning of the film gets stuck right here, like this. And then you get a hang up and you panic. All you have to do is just make sure that the film's shifted sideways and get past that area. Part of knowing how to roll film good is knowing all the problems you're going to encounter while you're doing it. So here we are, perfect. Onto the metal. Metal's a real bitch. I'm going to be honest with you guys. So metal, and if I'm terrible with this, I apologize. Once again, hold it, hand it to your finger, and you have to curl it in such a way that it goes into the center of the reel, right through those gates right there. So see, we've got it in the center of the reel, and curl, and you want to use your second finger to lay it in there. Now this, I'll be honest, I'm not very good at. If this were actually film I was going to develop, there's no way in hell I would run it on metal. I'm awful with metal reels. But anyways, it continues on, so on and so forth. So as you can see, it's lining up on all the outer rings, keeping it curled. Beautiful. And you can see the film in there all over. Very nice. So here we've got our roll of 120 film. I don't know how everyone else takes their film off the reel because there's no way of ever seeing that, but I'm going to show you how I do it. So here I just rip the tape, and it's I love this technique, and I'll show you guys. So you take this paper part, and you just put the film in your hand like this, right there. See, I got my fingernails on the underside of the backing, and just pull. Try not to touch your film too much. And then take our paper apart. Paper's going to be out of here. And very important, we got to peel this tape off. And keep in mind that this is the leader of our film. So touching this right here, you're not affecting any images. Go for it. So there we go. We got our tape off. Get that out of here. Once again, I'm going to start in the plastic reel. This is a Patterson reel. And me personally, I've never used plastic reels for 120 until the Jobo. So I'm not real good with this plastic with 120. I used to use metal for 120. So here we are. Once again, we're going to ratchet it. To be honest, I don't like the ball bearings on my 120 film. I like using metal. Now I use the Jobo, but here we go. And we got some binding issues. Just ratchet a little slower, a little more carefully. Perfect. Bada bing. 100% good. Gonna take our film back off. Metal reel. I'm gonna do the metal reel because I think this is how I used to do it. I only ever would do 120 on metal because it's tried and true. So here we go. We have it like this again. And we want to get this to the center. So we find our prongs. There we go. It's in there. And we want to grab the film with our index and thumb. Curl the film. Making sure to hold on to it right there so then it has something to grab onto. You see I'm pinching the edges so it makes it through. And I mean, that's just wonderful. I love rolling 120 on metal. For those of you guys out there who have not done it yet, I suggest it. See how great that is. Wonderful. We're going to pull it off. Last but not least, the Jobo. Jobo reels are no harder than regular plastic reels. You just got to do the finger technique. So here we go. And I like to lay my film on top of the reel with the 120 film because it's so wide. If you lay it on top of the gate like this, you could feel it go in. So now it's in the gate. We pull it through. And with these Jobo reels, they pinch on the sides because they're very flimsy. So you don't want to be holding it like this and trying to get it in there. I hold the center very gently like this and keep my hand over. Very gentle process. Beautiful. And I suggest you guys maybe just use a crappy roll of film like I did here just to practice this, because that's the only way you're ever going to get good at it. Just sit on the couch and do it without looking. Obviously I was watching, but this is all just as fast in the dark because you have to learn what this stuff feels. Alrighty, so I rolled up my film and I put it in my film tank here. It's just like any other daylight tank. This one happens to attach to my Jobo processor, so for anyone who's interested in the Jobo, you get to see it work. So here we go, we click it in there, nice and ready to go. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour some water in here to pre-wash. I just so happen to have some water available. We're going to pour it in there. And turn it on. Now, normally, for those of you guys using a hand developing tank, you would fill it, turn it over a few times, dump it, fill it, dump it, maybe 2 or 3 times, just for the pre-wash. Just get the film wet. There's a annihilation backing on the film that is more prominent with 120 film, but you want to wash that off. So, anyways, we're just gonna let that clean right now, and I'm gonna take this time to mix up some developers. So, this particular tank is 240 milliliters is the minimum capacity. I personally mix up 260 milliliters for one very important reason. I'll show you guys. So, rodinol is 25 to 1 dilution, which means you need 25 parts water, 1 part rodinol. So, because of that, it's really, really easy to mix up developer when you have 250 milliliters of water and therefore 10 milliliters of rodinol. For you guys out there who are using an amount of liquid that's not so simple to deal with, you just basically take 20 ounces, figure out how many milliliters that is, divide it by 26, and there you have it. So, anyways, just so happens that I'm going to do 260 milliliters, so I have some water here that I've already measured the temperature on, and it's 20 degrees Celsius, which is 68 degrees Fahrenheit. The importance of using water that is 68 degrees Fahrenheit is it eliminates any sort of variables. It's very important to get your developer's temperature just right, because warmer than that is going to allow for a shorter development time. Colder than that's going to need a longer development time, and therefore if you're just using water straight out of the tap, you have no consistency, you have no control really, because it's all a crapshoot. So always want to make sure you get the right temperature water. I'm going to pour 250 into here. Perfect, we got 250. See if we can see that. Wonderful. And then I'm going to go ahead and get my rodinol. And see, the beautiful thing about this is that since it uses such a small amount of developer, this $14 bottle has lasted me probably about 4 or 5 months. And anyone who follows me knows I shoot a lot, so that's quite a good deal. And rodinol is also one of these developers that doesn't really go bad. This bottle was completely clear when I bought it, but I'm not worried about it being dark because rodinol it just doesn't it doesn't lose its potency. So here we go. Get down to 10. So there we are. And the reason I use a one-shot developer, which is, mix it every time, is it keeps your developer fresh. I'm always mixing up new chemicals. I'm always using new chemicals. And here we are. It's not very colorful. It's pretty simple. So anyways, by using a one-shot developer, you're not mixing up a gallon of D76 and hoping that you use it before it goes shitty. Not to mention, getting your chemicals to the right temperature when they're pre-mixed is infinitely more difficult than mixing up the right temperature of water and pouring your chemical in. So since I had this pre-mixed, I didn't really show you guys that process, but typically you want to run the water, add ice cubes if it needs to be colder, add warm water if it needs to be warmer, get your temperature to a nice 20 degrees Celsius, and then pour out what you don't need. In this case, I would have poured out all but 250 milliliters, and then pour your developer in, and now we've got a working developer. So anyways, we're going to turn off our agitation. So the jumbo processor is a wonderful tool because it does all of my agitating for me, and therefore I don't get any sort of developing issues like streaking or uneven in development. But because of that, I don't really have too much to do after this, but I'll tell you guys what you've got to do. So we're going to pour our developer in here. I have FomaPan in there, and FomaPan actually develops rather quickly with rodinol. It only takes about 6 minutes. So we've got our agitation on, 6 minutes time. Oops. Going for 6 minutes. And right now is the time that you guys that are hand developing, you'd set your tank down, agitate for 10 seconds. Here we go. You want to slap the side of the tank and then hit the bottom. And what that's going to do is it's going to release the air bubbles off your film, and it's going to make for a nice even development. And what we do is we would sit here for the next minute, and in a minute we would agitate for 10 more seconds, so on and so forth until our development is done. Hand developing is a lot more in tune with your film, and you get to really, it's a hands-on experience, so I suggest doing it. So here we would be sitting here waiting. Every minute we would agitate for 10 seconds. So I'm going to let this thing go for the next 5 minutes, and I will see you guys on the next step. Well, time to dump. So there we go, dumped that. Now what we're going to want to do is, that was our developer, and that's okay to go down the sink as well, so don't worry about that. Fill up some water. And what we want to do is we just want to wash off that leftover developer, get it ready for the fixer. So here we go. Turn that on for a couple minutes. I would normally fill and dump 3 times is my rule of thumb for you guys out there. I like to do things very methodically, so that if there's a mistake along the way, I know exactly what it is instead of wondering if I did something wrong. So fill and dump 3 times to wash your film off. And now's a good time for us to get our fixer ready. So this part's very easy for people that are hand developing because this needs to be completely full of your chemicals. So because of that, your fixer and your perma wash are recyclable chemicals. So you don't need to pre-measure it. You don't really need to do a whole lot. That's the beauty of hand developing, is that you can just pour it in there until it's full and you're good to go, because this chemical obviously gets recycled. Now, for a rotation process like this, I do need to measure my chemicals out, so I'm going to do that now. Like I said, I've been doing 260, so we'll just stick with 260. Wonderful. Smells great. So our film is washed. I'm going to dump it out. This is just water. Dump again. Cool. Now the fixer is our film. Our pictures are developed. They're there, but our film is still very light sensitive. So what the fixer is going to do is it's going to save that image, and it's also going to no longer make our film light sensitive So this is obviously the most crucial step of the whole development process as far as I'm concerned, because you can't have images without fixer. So there we go. I'm going to turn my thing on. And once again, the agitation process for you guys is inversion for 10 seconds, spank it, and set it down. So once again, same for the fixer. You want to do it 10 seconds for every minute. I usually like to fix for 5 to 7 minutes. 10 minutes doesn't hurt either. Alright, so that's time. We want to make sure to put our fixer back in our bottle. So there we go. And now I want to do another wash cycle of about 3 minutes. So we're going to wash all that fixer off of our film. The rest of the film developing process, to be honest, is pretty much just washing the fixer off the film. If we wanted to right now, we could pull the film out, but I obviously am not going to do that. So we're going to wash for 3 minutes, and then the next step is coming. Right, so it's time to dump the water now. Here we go. Now this is Perma wash. Perma wash is one of those steps that a lot of people skip, I'm beginning to find out, and I'm a little pissed. I'm a little pissed that I have been doing it this whole time, and now that's just, I have to do it. So I suggest everyone else to do it as well. It's a great process, but I guess some people don't do it. So anyways, what the Perma wash does, Perma wash washes the fixer off, which is going to keep our film from turning brown in the future, and also fixer spots. So all you have to do is you just do this for a minute, and if you do this for a minute, Perma wash is said to be, for 1 minute of Perma wash is the equivalent of 20 minutes of washing with water, which I think is a great reason to use it. If it has that much strength in cleaning our film off, then we should absolutely take advantage of it. So if we were doing Perma wash in a hand developing tank, you actually want to agitate for the entire minute. Take that out of there, but you want to agitate for the entire minute because that's really going to get your film clean and get all that fixer off of there. So we would just kind of turn it end over end for a whole minute. And once again, the Perma wash is a recyclable chemical as well, so you could just pour it right back into your container, and also pour as much as you happen to need for your tank. So we're gonna let that run, and once the minute is up, which is just about coming up right now, we dump that back into the container, and then we're on to our final wash. We're just about done. Our film is 100% ready to go. We just want to clean it up a little bit more because you know, if we're going to go through this whole process, might as well do it perfect. So let that keep going. That's actually just about done. Turn off the agitation. Dump back into our Perma wash. Now for the final wash, I usually do about 5 minutes, filling and dumping for people using hand tanks. It's probably about 5 or 6 dumps, you know, fill in and dump it about 5 or 6 times. Just really give it a good wash just to get everything off of there. And another little hint for you guys, if you get fixer on your hands, which you will absolutely get fixer on your hands, use a little bit of Perma wash to get that smell out, because as we learned, Perma wash is 100% made to wash fixer off of film. So little darkroom tip there: if you got smelly fixer hands and you don't want to go out into the world like that, rub some Perma wash on your hands and get it off. So anyways, we're going to pour some water in here and do our final wash. This is when the excitement comes and we get to start looking forward to seeing our film. So I'm going to let that go for 5 minutes, and I'll see you guys in a couple minutes. Alrighty. So our final wash is complete. Only got one step left to go, and that is Perma wash. Not Perma wash, excuse me, photo flow. So photo flow is the last agent. What this does is it's going to help remove hard water spots and keep your film nice and clean. The funny thing about this is that the dilution is 1 to 200. so it's kind of a bitch to measure out. So usually I just do a splash, just a little splash of photo flow. And because the dilution's so great, I'm going to almost fill up this whole entire container, so then it can be really diluted. It's basically soapy water that Kodak makes. So what we'll do is put some of this in there. See, it's kind of bubbly. We're going to let it overflow a little bit. If any of you guys out there have like a really good way of measuring this stuff out and making it perfect, please comment below, because I would love to hear it. I still haven't really got that one down yet. It just seems like too much of a hassle. This has been working for about 10 years, so I haven't had any issues. Anyways, so we do the photo flow. Normally you guys would submerge your film in the photo flow, pour it into your container, and you just agitate it for about 30 seconds just to get your film completely covered in it, to make sure that it's going to be protected. It's the last step, and then we will see our negatives, so that's pretty exciting. So here we are. I've switched us around. We're going to dump our photo flow, and now it is time for us to see our negatives. The one thing that I left out of all the supplies that I use is a film squeegee, and I originally bought this film squeegee because you have to have it to do color film, and it's really a great thing because it dries your film so much quicker. And also, when you're hang drying your film without a dryer, you could tend to get water streaks from the water on the top dripping down to the bottom of the length of the film. So I would suggest, for those of you guys out there, just get a squeegee. It's really a really good tool to have. So here we are. We're going to pull our negatives out of here now, and we should have some photographs. Let's see. Hopefully we did it right. And there we go. So got some negatives here. This is some Kodak T-Max, which I could show you guys. Wonderful. We got a nice looking film base, nice contrasty negatives. Wonderful. So what I do is I squeegee from the top down about 3 or 4 times. And then I switch it around and then go the other direction, so that we don't have streaking coming from either way. So there we go. Gonna hook some film clips on this. Gotta put one on the bottom as well, because that's gonna help it dry flat. Otherwise it'll just curl up and do a bunch of weird stuff. So clip it on the top and the bottom. And right here I've got a cable that I just bought at IKEA. They're like $5 or $6. It's a metal cable. I used to use that to hang all my film to dry. I'd suggest going out and getting one. It's like the best, nicest looking thing to hang your film from. So I'm going to throw this in the dryer. And we'll get our other roll of film. See how this one turns out. This is the Perma pan. This is the whole reason that I developed film today. So now, compared to the last roll, which was Kodak, you could really see the difference in the film base here. See how contrasty these negs are? They just look fantastic. Look at that. So there we go. Once again, squeegee from top to bottom. Squeegee. Well, thanks again for joining me with this video. I know it turned out a little bit long, but that's just kind of how it goes. Thanks again for watching, and I really hope that this little tutorial helps some people. Please leave any comments in the bottom if you have any questions or concerns, or if you have any suggestions for future videos. I'll also be putting in the description what supplies you need. I'll put a list in there, and then I'll also put a list of developing times, fixing times, perma wash times, just so you guys can follow along with the video and get a good understanding of exactly what's going on, and gives you something to look at. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you guys next time.